If chemistry were a video game, most students would be playing on hard mode, without even realizing there's a cheat code. They spend hours memorizing formulas, highlighting entire textbooks, and reading the same chapter again and again. But when the exam begins, everything suddenly feels unfamiliar. The formulas disappear, the reactions look random, and the panic begins. Meanwhile, another student studies for half the time, finishes questions twice as fast, and somehow predicts the answer before reading the entire question. Are they smarter? No. Do they have a photographic memory? No. So what's their secret? They discovered something most classrooms never teach. Chemistry isn't a list of facts. It's a system, and every system has patterns. Imagine trying to beat a video game by memorizing every level, instead of learning how the game actually works. That's exactly how most students study chemistry. Top students don't memorize every answer. They understand the rules behind the answers. Once you know the rules, your brain starts predicting what comes next. Think about chess. Grandmasters don't memorize millions of games. They recognize patterns. One glance, and they already know what move comes next. Chemistry works the same way. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you the exact system top students use to learn chemistry faster, remember it longer, and solve difficult questions with confidence. By the end of this video, chemistry won't feel like a subject you have to survive. It'll feel like a game you finally know how to win. Let's begin. Here's the biggest lie students believe about chemistry, that it's a memory subject. That's why most people spend hours memorizing formulas, definitions, and reactions. But if chemistry were really just about memory, every student with a good memory would get full marks. Yet they don't. Have you ever memorized a reaction perfectly, only to forget it 2 days later? Or looked at a question that seemed completely different, even though you studied that exact chapter? That's because your brain wasn't learning chemistry. It was only storing information temporarily. Your brain has a rule. It doesn't like remembering isolated facts. It loves remembering connections. The stronger the connections, the less memorization you need. Imagine walking into a city you've never visited. If someone tells you the names of 100 random streets, you'll probably forget them. But if someone gives you a map, suddenly, everything makes sense. Chemistry works exactly the same way. Most students try to memorize every chapter separately. Atoms, chemical bonding, periodic table, acids, organic chemistry. But your brain doesn't store them in separate folders. It stores them as one connected story. Think about building a house. You don't memorize where every brick goes. You understand the blueprint. Once the blueprint makes sense, every brick has a place. Chemistry is no different. Top students don't ask, how do I memorize this reaction? Instead, they ask, why does this reaction happen? That one question changes everything. Because when you understand why, your brain remembers what almost automatically. Here's something incredible. Every chemistry chapter is built using the same small set of rules. Just like thousands of English words are created from only 26 letters. Master the rules, and the chapters stop feeling random. So before we talk about memorization, flashcards, or note-taking, you need something much more powerful, a new way of seeing chemistry, because once you change how you see it, everything else becomes easier. Now, let me show you the first cheat code, the one that makes every future chapter easier to learn. It's called thinking like an atom, and once you understand this, chemistry will never look the same again. Imagine, for just 1 minute, that you are an atom, not a student, not a person, an atom. You don't care about exams. You don't care about textbooks. You only follow a few simple rules, and those rules control almost everything in chemistry. Every atom wants one thing: to become more stable. That's it. That's the goal. Once you understand that, thousands of reactions suddenly stop feeling random. Think about people. Most people want safety, a comfortable home, food, friends. Atoms aren't very different. They naturally move toward the most stable situation available. Chemistry is simply the story of atoms chasing stability. Now think about this. Why do atoms form bonds? Not because your teacher told you so. Not because it's in the textbook. They form bonds because bonding helps them become more stable. One simple reason. Thousands of different examples. Why do chemical reactions happen? Again, the answer is the same. The atoms are trying to reach a more stable arrangement. When you know the destination, the journey starts making sense. This is why top students don't memorize every reaction separately. Instead, they ask one question: which side is more stable? That single question often predicts the answer before they've even solved the problem. Imagine dropping a ball on a hill. Does it roll uphill? Of course not. It naturally rolls downward, toward a lower, more stable position. Atoms behave in a surprisingly similar way. They naturally move toward lower energy, and greater stability. Now look at your chemistry textbook again. Instead of seeing hundreds of random reactions, try asking, how are these atoms becoming more stable? Suddenly, the chapter starts telling one story, instead of 100 different stories. This is exactly why memorization feels so difficult. You're trying to remember the ending, without understanding the plot. Chemistry isn't a collection of answers. It's a collection of reasons. Learn the reasons, and the answers become much easier to remember. Congratulations! You've just unlocked your first chemistry cheat code. From this moment on, don't ask, what should I memorize? Ask, what is every atom trying to achieve? That one habit will completely change how you study chemistry. And the next cheat code is even more powerful, because once you learn it, the periodic table will stop looking like something you have to memorize and start becoming a map. Be honest, when you first saw the periodic table, it probably looked like this: a giant wall filled with tiny boxes, random letters, and impossible to remember numbers. Most students see a chart. Top students see a map. Imagine you're visiting a new city. Would you memorize every single street? Of course not. You'd learn the neighborhoods, the landmarks, the main roads. That's exactly how you should study the periodic table. Elements in the same column behave like members of the same family. They don't look identical, but they have similar personalities, which means, if you understand one, you already understand many others. Think about your own family. Maybe you and your brother don't look exactly alike, but people still notice similarities. The same thing happens with elements. Families on the periodic table share habits, and habits are much easier to remember than isolated facts. Now here's where the magic happens. Stop asking, what does this element do? Instead ask, which family does it belong to? Suddenly, you can predict its behavior without memorizing every detail. This is exactly how experienced chemists think. They don't start with memorization. They start with prediction. The periodic table gives them clues, and those clues lead to the answer. It's like solving a mystery. Instead of guessing randomly, let's say someone gives you an element you've never studied before. Most students panic. Top students don't. They simply ask, where is it on the table? Which family? What patterns do I already know? Within seconds, they've eliminated half the possibilities. This is why pattern recognition beats memorization. Memorization gives you one answer. Patterns give you hundreds of answers. Because once you understand the rule, you can apply it again, and again, and again. Every time you open your chemistry book, remember this. Don't study like a photocopier. Study like a detective. Ask questions. Look for patterns. Connect ideas. Your brain will do the rest. You've now unlocked your second cheat code. The periodic table isn't something to memorize. It's something to navigate. The moment you stop seeing boxes and start seeing relationships, chemistry becomes dramatically easier. And now, it's finally time for the study system itself, the one that helps you learn faster, remember longer, and walk into exams with confidence. Now that you know how chemistry actually works, let me show you how to study it. And here's the first rule. Never, ever, start with memorization. Start with understanding, because memorizing something you don't understand is like trying to remember directions to a city you've never seen. Here's the system top students follow. Step 1. Read a small section, not an entire chapter, just one idea. Maybe it's ionic bonding, maybe it's acids and bases, maybe it's equilibrium. Your brain learns faster when it solves one puzzle at a time. Step 2. Close the book. Yes, close it. Then ask yourself, what did I just learn? If you can't explain it, you don't know it yet. Reading feels productive. Remembering is productive. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle. Would reading the instruction manual make you an expert? Of course not. You improve by trying, falling, adjusting, and trying again. Chemistry works exactly the same way. This is why solving problems is more powerful than rereading notes. Every question forces your brain to search, to connect, to retrieve information, and every successful retrieval makes that memory stronger. That's how learning becomes permanent. Here's a challenge. After every study session, put away your notes. Take a blank sheet of paper and write down everything you can remember. No cheating, no textbook, no Google. Whatever you forget becomes tomorrow's study list. This is called active recall, and it's one of the most powerful learning techniques ever discovered. Now let's make it even stronger. Don't review everything every day. Review it just before you're about to forget it. That's how your brain builds long-term memory. This technique is called spaced repetition. Less cramming, more remembering. Imagine watering a plant. Would you pour 50 buckets of water all in one day and never water it again? Of course not. Small amounts, repeated consistently. That's exactly how your brain grows knowledge. Here's another cheat code. Don't only solve questions you already know. Spend extra time on the ones you get wrong. Mistakes aren't proof you're failing. They're proof your brain just found its next lesson. Top students don't keep an answer notebook. They keep a mistake notebook. Every incorrect answer gets written down. Every misunderstanding gets explained. Every week, they revisit those mistakes. Eventually, their biggest weaknesses disappear. Now imagine it's finally exam day. Most students walk into the room, hoping they remember everything they memorized. Top students walk in differently. They don't depend on memory alone. They depend on understanding, and that's a completely different kind of confidence. When you read the first question, don't rush. Ask yourself, what concept is this testing? What pattern have I seen before? What are the atoms trying to do? Those 3 questions often lead you to the answer, even before you calculate anything. Here's another mistake students make. They spend 10 minutes stuck on one difficult question. Don't skip it. Solve the questions you already understand. Build momentum, then come back with a fresh mind. Sometimes, the answer becomes obvious. Remember, every exam is designed to test understanding, not perfect memory. If you understand why reactions happen, why bonds form, and why patterns repeat, your brain can rebuild information, even if you forget one small detail. That's a superpower memorization alone can never give you. Let's quickly review the cheat codes you've unlocked today. Number 1. Think like an atom. Always ask, what creates stability? Number 2. Use the periodic table as a map, not a list. Number 3. Understand first, memorize second. Number 4. Use active recall. Close the book. Teach yourself. Write from memory. Number 5. Review with spaced repetition. Don't cram. Train your memory over time. Now, I have a challenge for you. For the next 30 days, don't study chemistry the old way. Forget endless highlighting. Forget rereading chapters 5 times. Instead, understand, recall, solve, review, repeat. Just 30 days. Then compare yourself to the student you are today. I promise, the difference will surprise you, because success in chemistry has never belonged only to the smartest students. It belongs to the students who understand the game, the rules, the patterns, the system. Once you learn those, chemistry stops feeling impossible and starts feeling predictable. Remember how we started? Chemistry felt like a video game, stuck on hard mode. Now you know the cheat codes. But cheat codes only work if you actually use them. So the next time you open your chemistry book, don't ask, how much do I have to memorize? Ask, what pattern am I about to discover? Do that consistently. And one day, someone will look at your grades and wonder how you learned chemistry so fast that it almost feels illegal. I'll see you in the next one. If you're learning something new so far, take 2 seconds and hit the like button. It tells YouTube that this video is helping students, which means it gets recommended to more people who need it. And if you want more videos that make difficult subjects feel simple, make sure you subscribe. We're just getting started.